Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another weekly wrap-up for the Yakking Show, where we tell you what's been happening on the Yakking Show in the past week. And of course, it's the week ending 31st of May, 2024. So first, let's welcome Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you. Can you believe it's already the
Good.
end of May? My goodness.
I know, and we've had a sudden downturn in temperatures. I don't want to waste time talking about the weather, but I'm sitting here in a sweater, and can you believe I got long pants on today because our house
Wow.
is 17 degrees, and there's no way I'm going to start the furnace up again for
Oh,
just a couple
come
of
now,
days.
Peter. You're the one who wears shorts going out for a walk in the middle of winter, for heaven's sakes.
As I did this morning when it was down to 6 degrees, but sitting in the house at my desk, I was getting cold. I had to put long pants on, but the sun's shining, so it's all good. So what happened this week? Well, on Tuesday we had a guest called Patrick Dawson, and he has a website called Tastefully Minimalist, and he is an expert in downsizing, decluttering, and adopting a minimalist lifestyle. And he speaks from personal experience because he had a very hectic life with several businesses, lots of properties to look after, and decided, no, he's going to change it. So he and his wife went traveling for, I think, about 2 years. And then they've written a guidebook. And that's what he does, helps people downsize and live a simple life. So I found that a really interesting episode. That was that one. Kathleen, you got anything to add on the minimalist living?
Well, what's interesting to me, it's when we think of minimalist living, we think of, maybe what conjures up in the mind is tiny homes. And
Hmm.
that's not necessarily the case here. And he talks about that. It's more of having a simpler way of life,
Yep.
simple, and not with so much stuff. We're always looking after trying to find the bigger house and more cars and more stuff. And I think that's what he addresses in this episode, which is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was very good. And as I found out, and I've probably mentioned on the show before, when
Mhm.
I lost everything in the fiasco in Zimbabwe, when we lost our farms, my wife and I came to Canada with two suitcases each and a horse saddle and six cats, of course. And before we came, we thought, what are we going to do without all our stuff? And we found it was so liberating not to have any stuff to worry about. And now, 20 years later, we have a house full of stuff, mainly given to us by nice people around us. But anyway, that's an aside. So next week, we have coming along a gentleman called Terry Tucker, who's got a really interesting story to tell, but I'm not going to spoil it. It's an interview. If you're feeling a little down in life or you think things are hard, then you want to listen to this episode coming up next week, and you'll find things are not so bad after all. The following week, we have Christine Vaughan Davis, who's an ordained Presbyterian minister and a hospital chaplain, and calls herself a spiritual director. And she works with people who are not necessarily religious or even Christian or churchgoers. She will help you if you're looking for some spiritual direction. After that, a week after that, we have Stephanie Wynn, counselor, psychologist, very good at helping people who are confused about their own gender or have children who are being influenced at school or elsewhere to consider changing their gender. She has a lot to say on that subject, and she talks a lot of sense. So that's a very good interview. And then a week after that, just to wrap it up, 4 weeks' time will be Shanna Rosenthal, a hypnotist, a counselor, also a very interesting lady coming along there. And that's what we've got coming for you, coming along the line. So now over to Kathleen for our health story of the day. For our cat tip, first of all.
Well, let me tell you about this feline tidbit for today. For those of you who love your furry friends, did you know that grapes and raisins, as well as onions, garlic, and chives, are extremely poisonous to cats? Grapes and raisins can cause kidney failure, and onions, garlic, and chives can harm the cat's gastrointestinal system and can cause anemia. Did you know that? I had no
I
idea.
didn't know that. No,
I know
no,
about
no, no.
grapes and dogs, but and chocolate, of course, with dogs, but
Yeah,
not with cats. Anyways,
no, I didn't know that.
and so today, Peter, what I wanted to talk to you about is vaping. Now, we know about the harmful effects of smoking, so I'm not going to get into that one, but a lot of young people think that vaping is a healthier way of smoking.
Hmm.
And in fact, it's definitely not. And what I really wanted to discuss is how vaping may damage the outer coating of the eye and impair vision. So vaping is linked to certain health risks to the eye, especially pertaining to the outermost layers that play an important role in ocular comfort and vision. And there's been studies done that, a lot of surgeons are noticing that young people are reporting increased numbers of dry eye symptoms and redness for those who vape. And during vaping, the vapors from the e-cigarettes can contact and affect the eye's surface, so mainly the tear film and the cornea, which form the first and second layers of the eye's surface. So the tear film coats the eye's surface and protects, preserves, and lubricates the eye. Its smooth surface also helps for light refraction and vision. So chronic exposures to vaping have been linked to various health risks, including cancers of the eye
Mm-hmm.
surface. I didn't even know, you can get cancer anywhere, but cancer of the eye surface, changes in the tear film stability and quality, the tear production, corneal thickness, and dry eye symptoms, as well as ocular irritation. And why is that? So why is that? But they say that the vape fluids contain aldehydes and glycerol and other volatile organic compounds that interact with the lipid layer or the outermost layer of the tear film. So the nicotine in vaping also constricts the blood vessels in the eyes, which can affect tissue repair and health of the eyes and the surrounding area. So if
Right.
you're considering changing from smoking to vaping, I think again.
For sure. I've
Yeah,
always wondered how do those vaping things, what they call them, e-cigarettes, work? Do they have a battery in them? Because you don't light it, do you? I mean, not
no.
like a cigarette, but it obviously burns something. So it must have like a mini hot plate run by a battery, I guess.
You know what, Peter? I have no idea. That's a good question, but I'd have to look into that. Maybe I'll tell you next time. I forgot
Yeah,
about
and the substance they put in it is mainly tobacco, if I remember rightly. That's where the nicotine comes from.
tobacco
It's
in
tobacco.
an Easter.
I think it's tobacco based because my son Brian, who's still farming in Zimbabwe, is growing a special tobacco that the Chinese want for making whatever they call it that goes into vaping machines. Yeah,
Really? Oh, that's
yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Because you mentioned nicotine, and that sort of confirms that it's got to be tobacco based. So I have one which is not really health related, but because I've got a dark sense of humor, it amused me, and because I've been a farmer most of my life. So I picked up a headline on the Epoch Times, and it says ranchers speak out about new vaccine to reduce cow flatulence. I thought, my goodness, what is happening here? It's a natural thing that cows consume a lot of grass. They're going to produce methane. You can't help it, and it's got to go somewhere. So Bill Gates funded effort to develop a livestock vaccine for the prevention of cow flatulence would face resistance if it were imposed on American cattlemen, according to ranchers. And these ranchers are saying there's no ways you're going to interfere with our cow's digestion system. A cow's a cow. You can't modify a cow. So it's creating quite an uproar in ranching communities in Texas and elsewhere in the States. But I thought, whatever else. I mean, you know, in the comments on this article, it's quite amusing. Somebody says, I guess it's a good thing the hundreds of thousands or millions of bison that used to roam the plains are gone. The planet would have died ages ago if they hadn't been exterminated. Anyway, just a little bit of amusement at what the sort of things that get into the news.
Right.
So to remind our readers, Kathleen, we will have a link for your vaping article in the newsletter and in the description of this video. And my message is we've got a really interesting list of guests coming up. Make sure you don't miss them. Hop onto the website and sign up for our newsletter. And that's it from me until next week. So back to you, Kathleen.
All right. Thanks, Peter. And one more time, if anybody is interested in being a guest on our show, we mention this on every episode, but if you're an expert in your area of health, we want to hear from you. Please visit us at theyakkingshow.com. Click on the contacts tab where you will find a short application form. Back to you, Peter.
No, I just reminded me something we
Yeah.
were going to ask our audience, that we come up with topics that we believe are interesting, but the health field, health and fitness, is such a wide field that
Yes.
if you have a topic you believe we should be looking into, researching, finding guests for, hop onto the website. As Kathleen says, there's another tab there under contact where you can
Absolutely.
send us a message and just tell us what you'd like us to find information on for future shows. So that's it.
All right. Until next time, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.